Well, we're going to get started at 4 o'clock. This is with Eric and Sarah, and I did have some little funny memes on there. I hope everybody could see it. The memes are starting to come about with all this work from home funness. So thought I might as well enjoy it, right? About us. So we are a managed IT provider located in San Marcos, Texas. We also do managed security for people. And what that means, if you're not familiar, is we take and outsource and own the entire IT relationship as much as we can with customers and try to be, in the simplest form, act like your IT department, helping you make decisions, helping guide you, helping keep everything running, help desk and support and such. And by that, we have an incredible amount of exposure to this remote workforce. So we decided from that we might start this to try to share that and try to make this information public and what we know public, and try to help people get remote faster and make decisions that help them with being remote. My name is Whit Eric. I am the owner of Hill Country Tech Guys. We've been in business for what, Sarah, 14 years now?
Yes, 14 years.
Yeah, I started my first IT company about 20 years ago, and through life, have come to own Hill Country Tech Guys. And Sarah, I'll let you introduce yourself. She started working for me 6-7 years ago, full time,
Yeah,
right?
right. So my name's Sarah Eric. I'm the COO. I started off full-time 7 years ago as the office manager. I was very thankful that I was able to learn quickly. We've had some peer groups and stuff like that have helped me get up to speed, and I love my job. I am doing what probably a lot of y'all do. I'm figuring out how to get things to work. That's most of my job. And so we've been in full steam. Luckily, we shared last week that we've been playing with the ideas of remote workforce for about the last year, since we do have the technology to do so, but not necessarily the infrastructure, as in policies, procedures, stuff like that. So it's kind of jumpstart us into pushing that forward a little bit faster than what we had thought. And in some areas that we're learning as we go, and in some we're thankful that we had the technology we had to get us up and running.
Sure. So the goal is to share knowledge, create a community of support for this new workforce. To, like I said, I want to make sure that I can keep everybody I can up to date with what we're learning and the cool things we're seeing. And, people are already getting innovative, trying to make things better. And, we're here to share that stuff. So, Sarah, we want to talk about this slide, what you want?
Yeah, just go ahead and drop your name if you would like, and the company that you're with, and any specific questions that you have. We'll be handling them as we go. If we can't handle them, we'll try to fit it in next week. You'll see that we've added some things that we've gotten as questions after the webinar from last week. So we've gone ahead and added some of those back in. And this is just an opportunity for maybe us to get those a little bit earlier so that we can handle them this week as well, or address them as best as we can.
Cool. So last week we covered their hardware and software assessments for employees. Other general questions to ask their employees about their home environments, kind of assessing, are they going to be able to work at home efficiently, or do you need to help them out with a folding table or who knows what, right? We gave up some pros and cons for 3 different, I would say the primary ways to work from home, right? We have, using their home computer, using a remote access tool, or taking their work computer home, or remote desktop, and all. There's, obviously quite a bit around that. If you can't get that video, let us know. We can send you the link to it. We've stuck it up on YouTube.
Yeah, I'll actually send it in the chat right now, just so that anybody that would like it can just take it from there.
Yeah, and I admit we're not professionals at this, but we needed to find a way to give out information, so we're trying to get better and better at it. Some of the questions from last week that we're going to cover today: moving some applications to the cloud. When is this a good idea? We'll talk about that today, and I think that is actually defining what is moving to the cloud. And there's the cloud is definitely a hit word, and the enterprise has a definition of what the cloud is, and I feel like there's a new version that's being developed for the small business and mid-business sector, and there's big differences, massive differences in expectations that you could have. One of the topics that I want to talk about, and I feel like there's not enough explanation on, is two-factor authentication. It's kind of starting to begin the security conversation of this. And two-factor authentication is not really just about working from remote. It's really an always thing, but working from remote is enhancing the need for this. And we need to start demanding of our vendors and stuff. And I want to explain what it is. So. And then we kind of, at the very end, after we answer any questions we have, and I did this at the end in case people don't want to see this, I'm going to do a log me in session to a computer, and I'm also going to do a connection into our broker farm up at the data center, so you can see the difference, be it they're not massively different. There's a difference, and I want people to understand that a little bit before they go down the road. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to give you, we'll go one way and we'll go the other way. You'll get to see them, for yourself. And there's obviously some demos online I could refer you to if you want that too. And starting out with a reminder, we're going to do this at least 2 more times, same time next week and the following week. The link will be the same. So if you have the link, you have the right link. You can join us again next week. And we're going to use information from this meeting to develop kind of what we talk about next week. I've got a hint. It's going to be around security and possibly, maybe processes and policies, and we'll let Sarah kind of bring up some of the stuff she has. We have already some policies developed. Maybe we can share them. That's going to be a good Sarah question. So here we go. This is our episode 2, monitoring and working with remote employees. We realize this is a new frontier for a lot of you, and you're used to being able to go see that Whit's working on his work or not, right? Go look at them, and now they're at home and they're in their PJs, and you can't do that. So there's new questions around what we can do. So we feel like it's bigger than just being able to see their productivity. It's also staying in touch with them. You don't realize the community that you have at the office until you don't have it, right? And we're encouraging meetings, stand-ups, and huddles, and in a frequent pattern. To give you an idea of me, I am 2 huddles a day. I have one at 8:30 with one part of my team, and I have one at 9 o'clock with a different part of my team. The huddles have completely different rhythms and questions happening, and they only last 15 to 20 minutes. On a really bad day, one of them might make it 30 minutes. But that lets me stay in touch with the team. Well, lets me keep my face in front of them. We all have cameras. We all get on video. I'd say that's 90% of the time. Maybe every now and then somebody won't have a video because there's something in their personal life, and that's fine. They're there, they're talking, and everybody participates in the meeting. We ask them something good that's going on, some challenges they're having, and they get that chance to talk and make sure that they're not just clocking in, clocking out, and churning through the things. So having these things to do that. Now, simple tools, Office 365. If you have Office 365, you probably have Teams. Teams is amazing. It's what we primarily use in our company, and we're still learning it, but it is the stack integration into Microsoft for file sharing and chat and screen sharing and everything is amazing. I don't know how we'd be surviving right now without Teams. We're using it so heavily with our team. So, I like it too, because if I'm on the Teams on my phone, I don't feel like I have to be sitting at my desk constantly. I can go walk up, sit on the deck, or, step away for a minute. And if somebody needs me, they can get me. So it's very handy for that. Zoom, obviously the tool we're using is Zoom. It's so industry known. It's very popular, but it's very cheap. And it also offers my favorite way to view people. We're not using it here, but in a Zoom meeting, you can have, I think it's up to 50 people on the screen at once, so that if you're trying to have a huddle with a large chunk of your organization, you can do that. You can have that face-to-face and see people. Last Friday, we had a happy hour. We told everybody to go home and get online, and about half my company got online. Some of their family joined us, and we spent an hour, maybe an hour and a half, just having a drink together, talking about what's going on. It was not about work, but it was just to get to talk to everybody and get to, have some water cooler talk without being at the office. And I felt like it went a long way. I had a lot of positive feedback, and we're going to continue to do that on some rhythm also. So, and you do your reviews of your employees, where you sit down and have coaching moments and stuff like that. Getting the video going, to be able to see a person's physical expressions and stuff is more important than people think. And they tell us to do it in sales. So I heard there's an issue with Zoom stealing Microsoft credentials. No, Lisa, but that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll do a quick look. I'm going to guess it was some kind of spoofing attack that was convincing people to enter their credentials in. I'll find out. Lisa asked the question that she heard there was a breach with Zoom requesting Microsoft credentials. I haven't seen that in any article, but I definitely would be curious to find out. If I do, I'll send something. That's a interesting case. Yeah, that's it. My last
Yeah, I
statement was
just
the virtual water cooler moments. Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, I was going to make a moment on the virtual water cooler moments. There's a lot of stuff going on right now with people are secluded in their houses and they're hearing news, and it's creating this moment where people are actually getting more anxiety, more stress because we don't know what's going on. Wit goes to the grocery store. So I haven't actually been outside my house in 3 weeks. So what I'm all hearing is off of any social media or news. And sometimes that can cause more stress than really is out there. So it was brought to my attention last week, I guess, that really providing water cooler moments for you to get together and talk with people, it calms people down. It gives people ability just to like have that normal dialogue that will get us all on the same page and working together. So what that would look like is, as we did like a happy hour, but also the team meetings, and then any other time where you're just like, hey, instead of having a moment where you're typing or chatting someone, to get on a webinar or a Zoom meeting or a team meeting with them where you're seeing them face to face, so that you can see stress levels on people's faces, you can see anxiety, so that you can start asking those questions and providing that community back to each other. It's gonna be really important. That's a right now thing. I don't know if that's gonna be a forever thing that's gonna be needed so much, but it's definitely a right now thing that's needed.
Sure. Thank you. Monitoring applications. So what we're looking for here is a tool that allows us to collect data on the activities and habits of our employees. This is not explicitly assigned to being a remote workforce. We have some companies that leverage the same tool stack in their intra-office situations. And I just kind of got some learnings I've had over the few years, making sure you guys do understand we're not lawyers. We can only give you suggestions and not legal advice. That's important because of the next few statements. One, employees should sign a policy stating they're being monitored. You're now definitely getting in more with your employee when you're doing this. They need to know and understand that their activities are being closely monitored. There is some assumption of monitoring, be it that it is a company owned a computer. Any assets owned by the company, technically you have access to, but I would recommend, if you don't have in your policy book, you should anyway. Even if you're not doing this, you should do that, because if somebody ever checks their personal email on the work computer and there's a cache copy of something on there and happens to get out, anyway, there's a lot of things that can happen. You should have this in your standard policy document, but I want to remind you that. I would also only monitor employer-owned hardware. Don't start putting it on their home computers or asking to put on their home computers. It's just not a wall you want to go down for a million reasons. Also, I would deploy it to a pool of people, never just one. There's multiple reasons. One is, if you're doing it to just one, it could look like you're targeting someone. Two is, and the next reason I would say is that you can't get enough data to be able to make a decision. A good tool like this will track activity by idle time, applications used. It even takes a version of video of their user's screen, but you don't want to have to sit there and try to watch video. You're going to use the video to troubleshoot problems, not to be alerted of the problem. So it should have analytics, right? And it should give you some details on, okay, here's your 10 employees. You've got this awesome employee, and you think's awesome probably because he's creating a lot of production, getting a lot of things done, and they're idle 1 hour of the day, whatever that time month comes to be. And then you have this not so awesome employee who might be idle 5 hours a day. So if you were just to look at one of those as an end case, you may not understand what's going on. So having a range of employees that are all being monitored is recommended. I would recommend, if you're going to monitor one, you do it all. We use it as also a training tool. When a new employee is hired, we look at that to kind of see how they're struggling. Are they looking around for different applications, maybe to watch their video for a while and just see how they're working? Do they know the applications that we've assigned to them? Stuff like that. So it comes in handy, not just in this remote workplace situation, but it is a super powerful tool. You just got to be careful how you use it, and make sure everybody knows it's happening. The next thing is the same compliance concerns you have, HIPAA, PCI, et cetera. they're going to apply this tool. So if you just go off and if you pick one, I encourage you need to validate it against all the concerns that you may have. We've used Terramind, so I'm going to throw it out there. They have a free demo on there. Check it out. It's pretty cool. It's pretty easy to deploy, very lightweight, very detailed tool. We like it, and I'm not going to recommend a whole lot of products. I'll tell you that one I've used and it works. So.
Yeah, as a operations side, just so that you know, when it does deploy, it goes out silently. So it's not like you're going to get a pop-up that says, hey, this new thing's been installed on your PC. So there are many times that we've put it on by an employer's request, and the employee never knows anything. Don't want to cause freak out moments if that's not needed, and that,
Yeah, good to note for sure. It does have some other tools. We're going to talk about data loss prevention next. It has a data loss prevention module in it. And I'm going to change the slide to it. The data loss prevention that one tool adds is definitely what I would consider a very extreme side of data loss prevention. But what data loss prevention is watching your data, obviously it's in the name, and looking for it to leave your environment in a way you don't want. So in Terramind, and in a lot of tools, Office 365 has the same ability, and some of the better solutions have this ability. Once you turn it on, you can monitor for things to happen, i.e. Sarah took our entire customer list, saved it to Excel, and emailed it to somebody. The right tool can, one, block that from happening by saying Sarah doesn't have the ability to send large Excel files. Or if Sarah does send an Excel file, we can send it to the admin hits approve, and then the file can go, right? You can lock down what they can do. Well, with this tool, it has the same ability, but even more so, because say you've allowed personal email in your organization, you're not controlling that. If they are to open up Gmail and attach that, it can see that. It can let you know. It can literally tell you, Sarah sent 40 attachments with Gmail this week. 6 of them were cat pictures. The rest of them were Excel documents, whatever, so that you can focus in on looking for these problems where they may lie and have some safety, right? Have some coverage to know what's going on at home. So getting into data loss prevention. So like I said, most popular tools have some of this built in, and it can be in varying levels. Sometimes it's an add-on additional fee. But because your employees have now left your building, they have more control. They can do more because they're at home, right? You're not watching them, right? So using data loss prevention tools can prevent that data getting out to the wrong people.
So when you're saying data loss, when you're saying most popular tools, you're talking specifically about data loss prevention tools?
No. So Office 365 has data loss prevention templates, settings that you can turn on. It just needs to be done. So
what kind of other tools would provide such?
Some cloud-based EMRs will have that. QuickBooks Online can have that. Basically, data loss prevention is not always called data loss prevention. It can be, okay, Whit, if he's in QuickBooks Online, I don't want him to be able to export Excel files. He can only view. That's still a form of data loss prevention. So it's also a bigger conversation around when you're giving people access, do they need access to the whole kitchen sink, or do they just need access to the refrigerator? And controlling that so that you're being thoughtful about who you're giving access to what. Because you got to remember, it's also not always the employee. It could be the employee's husband, the employee's boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever that has access to the equipment. So the more you can limit the access to data in your system, the better. So sometimes your add-ons specifically called data loss prevention tools. Sometimes it's literally the setup. So it's just good.
What would be something you would suggest here? Would it be actually like going through their own applications that they currently have and just start asking the questions to those vendors about
Yes.
what kind of member restrictions they have?
Correct. Looking through the security section of your own tools, a lot of times I'll go in organizations and they've, out of ease of access, they go in there and give everybody permission to everything because it's easier than going through the tools and figuring out who needs access to what. You need to do that. You need to go through and set up that granular access to who has ability. Ideally, you can limit it to where, say I am a CPA firm that has teams. They got 10 teams but they may have 1,000 customers, and every customer is broke down into chunks of 100 and assigned to each team. Well, that team needs to have access to that 100, but the next team doesn't need to have access to the first team's 100. Being able to limit it like that is super great. And you're not always going to find that in your software, but when you're picking these tools, you should be looking for these abilities to how can I limit access across my organization, across staff. If you're a doctor's office and you got 10 sites, ideally, Dr. A can only see Dr. A's patients and Dr. C can't see Dr. A's patients or whatever, because that the more you break down access, the less risk you're exposed to. Because if Dr. A ever does get hacked, say have an incident, only Dr. A's patients would be at risk, not Dr. C's patients. So that same thing applies. And then that's all kind of data loss prevention, right? That's all layering your access without spending any money. You're just going to be creating security groups and limiting who can get to what. So some specific data loss tools will add things like geographic limiting. So what that says is, if someone from China tries to log into my line of business application, block it, because I don't have anybody in China. Why would China be trying to log in? Now, there are methods around this using a VPN. So there's very cheap solutions out there. I can get a VPN to get in, but you're making it harder for the bad guy. I'm not saying you're going to block everything, but we're going to make it harder by saying you have to be in the United States. Sometimes you can even limit it to the state you're in, but sometimes that can get a little glitchy because they're using the location of your IP address to do it. And sometimes there's weird stuff in vendors where it doesn't work, but it's a thing you can get set up. Often a lot of vendors support it. Office 365 supports it. QuickBooks Online, I think, supports that at some levels. Anyway, need to know that. Time of day. Limit the time of day if you can in the software. A lot of things support scheduling. If your employee is supposed to work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., maybe ask your IT provider, can you set it up to where they only have access from 7:30 to 5:30? Because then the rest of the time they can't get in. That also means the rest of the time the bad guys can't get in as them. So you're limiting that access. You're limiting exposure with time of day controls, limiting the ability to export data. Do they even need the ability to create an Excel file with all your customers' information? Maybe not. Maybe they do, or create a PDF or whatever it is. That kind of falls the same thing with printing. Do they need the ability to print? Does the guy who just logs in to make his timesheet need the ability to print the schedule for the day or not? Maybe he just needs it on his phone. He already has an app. So you got to tear through the work processes and decide on the access that these people need rather than just give them everything. HIPAA and PCI and other standards, there's a lot of tools that you could literally go click a checkbox, alert for HIPAA or block HIPAA or block PCI with checkboxes, and they'll give you options they can do. So it's more of, you need to sit down with your IT provider and tear through your tools and what can I turn on, what can I control. And if you don't have an IT guy, you're gonna have to get with the vendors, get with their own knowledge bases and help articles, and see what you can find for security tools, data loss prevention, etc. Cool. Is there something else here, honey?
Nope, that's just the segue to the next section.
Sweet. Moving applications to their cloud platform. When I say their, we're talking about, you have an application A, and they're like, we can put you in the cloud. Okay. That gets used so much, and I've seen it in offices. What they'll do a lot of times, if they don't have a cloud specific application, as we give the example here, QuickBooks Cloud, it's literally a different application written to be delivered over the internet, and it works quite well. But what a lot of people will do is say, I'm going to take your application to cloud, and all they're going to do is boot up some servers in the data center and give you what we've talked about before, remote desktop. Well, the problem I found with that, a lot of times, and it works okay, it's better than nothing, is that environment's not tied to your office environment. So what ends up happening is you end up having a segmented network. So they have a network that they run for you, and you have a network that you run for you, and they're not really completely tied together. So there's often has to be a lot of third-party tools for printing and scanning and file access, and just importing a file sometimes can be difficult. But if you say, oh, that's all you offer, you as a customer, you can go get your own remote desktop in a data center and move your application there. But then you have the ability to truly connect it to your office so that it feels more like a server that you used to have sitting at your office. It still is. It just happens to be in the data center, but you still have that full connectivity between. When the vendor does it, in 99% of the cases I've seen, you lose the full connectivity to your data. You lose the ability to save an Excel file and it show up right there on your network like you're used to. You'd have to find some way to export it or gather it. It's just, when they say they're moving you to the cloud, it's very important to ask how they're going to deliver that. Do they have a web-based interface, or is the application just going to be hosted in a remote desktop or Citrix? and you need to get a full demo and learn the limitations of that before you sign on the dotted line. Because moving your stuff, once you move your stuff in, it's extremely hard typically to get it back out, unless you have control, unless you have your own private environment in the data center. When you do that, you're in a shared environment, it just makes things harder. And you'll often, you'll have cases in that shared environment where another person that's sharing the same resources as you can overload, say, a SQL server, and then you're affected. Or they did an update on another guy's database and your database is affected. So you just got to be careful when you're moving in that shared remote desktop hosting environment, when you could just get your own remote desktop hosting environment in the data center. There's lots of good guys out there that can help you do that. We do that for people all the time. Several people on this call have that service with us, so you're very familiar with it.
And what about True Cloud? So how can you evaluate what True Cloud is?
The easiest way to think about that, I call it True Cloud, or like QuickBooks Cloud, is it's a website you go to. So you're going to go to www.quickbooks.com, OC, whatever it is. There's a link, right? And I log in, and the whole application is delivered to me via a web page. That is an application that's been built to run on the web. There is another example of this, which I don't know why more software developers don't do it, but I love it. It's where they have a True Cloud front interface, a web page you can go to, and they also have an application that ties into the web page, but it lets you run from anywhere. It's very rare you see that, but it's very powerful, especially when you're got a lot of mobile users or remote users or people that need to work anywhere and wherever. That ability to use a client or a web page is like it. So a good example of this is Office, Microsoft Office, Exchange Server, that whole suite. Most people are familiar today with Office Online. So you can log into Office Online. You can have your company's documents loaded into SharePoint online and edit your Word document on a web page. And it looks kind of like Word. It's mostly the same. You hit save, it saves, and then you can turn around and go right to your computer. There's the same document. You can open up Word on your computer and edit it. So that would be what I would consider a True Cloud application. They have a version that runs 100% in the web. And in that case, they have a version that 100% runs on your computer, and they talk to each other and they play nice. Those are one of the ideal applications you look at that. So, and I guess one thing we failed to mention, the reason we're talking about this is I feel like this is a great opportunity for us as organizations to start to look at these things we use and what ones can we go ahead and move to the cloud. I know some people are having slowdowns right now. And we've been lucky with a lot of our customers that are in slowdown. We're taking this time to migrate. We're taking this time to, okay, I've got a 3-month break. Let's get this upgrade done. Let's get this migration to the cloud done. Let's get all this stuff ready. Let's get all the glitches worked out of it. So once this is over, we're back in business. And it's the work at home has presented some opportunities for them to say, this doesn't work. How can we make that better? Okay, let's get that done. Let's get this done. And use this time when some of us are slower and less work to invest and get our stuff ready for when we're not. And this conversation came up, and I should have been clear about that, because people are asking, what's the difference? How do I know what questions should I be asking when I'm talking to my software provider or my vendor about moving my stuff to the cloud? And that's where all this came from. Some other things to evaluate: voice over IP. The reason I love voice over IP, I'll give you an example. We have 30 people in our company, and we were working at the office on Friday, and we said, okay, starting Monday, half of you guys go home. And we were able to use things like forward to cell phone, voicemail to email, and soft phones. The soft phone is the software-based phone on your computer, to let those people go home and their phones rang like they're still at the office. And if Monday I wanted them to be back in the office, they come back and their phone starts ringing again at the office. It gives you that flexibility to your business can exist anywhere. Is it not only good in this situation, but say something bad happened to your building, say a sewer pipe burst and you couldn't be there for 4 days, within minutes with a good voice over IP solution, you're home working. You're not tied to that physical building, and you could be anywhere. It's funny because our organization, we've grown quite a bit over the years, and we were about to look for a new office, and we had a hard time finding an ability to get an office that's our size. And having stuff like this set up, a cloud-based phone system, cloud-based accounting, and our software being cloud, we were thinking about having half our staff work from home and the other half come to the office in a rotating schedule, to where it's just their normal. Like, okay, you work from home this week, and then the next week, we rotate them out. We don't want to never see each other, but we're, going to have a schedule. Tools like these with voice over IP phones, QuickBooks Cloud, et cetera, can make you have that ability, expand how your company works. And obviously in a bad situation, everybody go home and it's business as usual because you've been practicing every week, right? It's kind of a cool idea that we're headed down, and even our own organization. One warning that's hit several organizations, and my neighbor was telling me yesterday, and I literally as ever talking to her, your voice over IP phone is powered via the network, so from the jack in the wall, typically. So you'll need a PoE injector, which is a little box that basically puts the power back in the line, or a power supply, and often they don't come with those. And right now on Amazon, they're back ordered a couple weeks. So, having a box of those in the closet somewhere ready to go is, might be necessary. But using things like the soft phones on your computer or on your cell phone is a workaround from that. As long, you're just gonna have to have an agreement with your employees. Hey, you're gonna put the soft phone on your cell phone. You need to get on the Wi-Fi, so do Wi-Fi calling. There's ways around, but I guess what I'm saying is voice over IP is a very powerful thing to have in this time like this, or in general. Accounting software. A lot of accounting softwares have come up with a good cloud-based thing. We talked about QuickBooks Cloud. There's also FreshBooks, and Peachtree, I believe, has a cloud offering. Sage has a cloud offering. Microsoft Dynamics, I'm 90% sure, is mostly cloud also. As long as you have the right backend, you can run it from anywhere. So looking at those applications is good. Time clocks. A lot of people have physical time clocks, and I don't want buddy punching. I don't want this. I don't want that. Yeah, they've modernized it. Now you can have time clocks that are an app on your phone, and part of the setup, it says, give me your geolocation. So they're on their phone, they click clock in. Not only does it clock them in, it tags where they're at. It tags where you're at, stuff like that, and when, what time, all that stuff. And it prevents them from doing buddy clocks because they can only be logged in on one phone. And you can see the serial number of the phone or the phone number, so who that person was doing it. At least they had the phone in their hand. In the computer, they do the same thing. You can lock it down by IP address and area, and you could be able to see, why is Jim, Sally, Jeff, and Sue all getting clocked in for the same IP address? Yeah, so it's not as scary as it was to let people use online time clocks. We're seeing it more and more, and it works better and better. Camera systems. Your traditional camera system will have a box at your office. It stores the data. And then that data, if you want to access that, you got to go through holes in the firewall to get it. More and more companies out there have really amazing cloud-based solutions. Fair warning, though, they're expensive. But what they do bring is artificial intelligence. And some of the ones we're using now have the ability to look for faces and things. So I can literally go, show me every time Joey was at the office, and it'll show me all the video clips where Joey was there, or a particular customer, or some of them have license plates. You can enter the first 3 letters of license plate, and if it saw those 3 letters, it's going to give you that video. I haven't seen any premise-based camera systems that do that. The cloud-based ones are doing it. They have that. Basically, it's kind of like voice over IP. If you buy a phone system and put it in your office, or a camera system, it just starts getting older for the most part. A lot of these cloud-based solutions keep getting better, and they keep adding software and tools to them. So you're maybe spending more for the camera or the phone or the service, but the service continues to get better and better. So you got to kind of tear that apart.
You talked about evaluating cloud-based solutions currently because they might be slow, or they might have the opportunity to do that right now without a full staff or anything. Is there any other reasons why they should be evaluating cloud right now?
And I've looked at our organization, and I don't think anybody knows how long this is going to continue. I want to say it's going to be super fast and super quickly done, but I happen to be in a situation where our lease is up in January, and if this is still going on in January, we're not going to have an office till this is over, because there's just no reason, right? And to do that, I have to be able to 100% run my organization without a building, and so we're prepping for that now. And that's my personal use case. It may not be everybody's, but I think that this opportunity gives us that time to look at the way we do things and look for a better way to do it. And a lot of those tools that are more modern and stuff tend to be cloud-based.
And from my situation, where just a personal example is that just 2 weeks ago, we moved from QuickBooks Premise to QuickBooks Cloud because it was easier for all the people that we have to be working in QuickBooks to be doing that in a cloud-based form. So those might be some of the things that people are evaluating right now, are what solutions can make sense in the long term, but that we can do right now so everybody can be working more efficiently.
Yep. Yep. I mean, I'll tell you, I haven't found any of this stuff to be cheaper. I mean, I think the advertisings people see online say it's going to be cheaper. I think it is cheaper in the enterprise space when you have these larger volumes to do this, because just the scaling of it is a little bit different. But what I have found these tools to do is make us more efficient, to give us more data to run our business, and to enable my people to be able to work better and more comfortably. So there is value to that, and that's why we are doing so much of it. And luckily, we started moving our stuff to the data center about 4 years ago. So sadly, the things that were left are the administrative tools. All of our production tools we had moved a while ago, and luckily we were so far down the path, it was pretty easy for us. So yeah, cool. The next thing I want to talk about is two-factor authentication. It gets referenced a lot without a true explanation of what's happening and what's going on. And this is definitely going to be a security section of today's conversation. So this first little guy here is a normal login. And what I'm saying there is they type their password in and they have access to the data here on the right. This is what we consider our data. Maybe I'm pointing at it. The next diagram is the alternative in the more secure solution. So he types his password in, he or she, right? And then the data goes out to and says with there's some rules you can add on it, most likely based on location, what time of day it is, or frequency, if you want to challenge the user for a second authentication method. If you do, then the user uses a third-party tool, and often they're free, and a lot of times the most applications support this. You just have to go click a checkbox that says enable two-factor. You have the app on your phone, you take a picture of the QR code, and then you're set up. And then you have to type in another number or click a button on your phone to say, yep, that's me. And you have a certain amount of time to do that, or it expires, to prove. And what this prevents is if the employee saves the password, right? Because there's ways to do it. I mean, there's tools out there, password managers that auto type passwords in for you, or their password gets compromised because it's something easy. This gives a changing password that's never, either they have to have the phone and literally hit, yep, that's me on the phone, or it gives them a code. I think it changes like every 90 seconds. They have to enter, given that second level authentication. I will encourage you to be careful with the rules that you put on it, because if you say, well, if they're at my office, don't challenge them. Well, what if an employee gets a hold of your HR's password and they're trying to see the payroll scales? Well, if you turn off your two-factor because they're at work, then that employee has the password and they have the keys to the kingdom, right? So having things like this eliminate that, because either the HR director's phone's in a ding, or that guy's going to get to the two-factor password. He's not going to have any idea what it is, because it changes all the time. It used to be something you only saw in the movies where, they had to get that special code to get in, right? Well, now it's delivered by everybody. And the more you can put it on your tools, the better. I mean, a lot of, like on my bank, they do something similar. They send me a text. They send me a text of a code, and that's pretty good. If somebody wants it enough, they're going to get it. But you can say that really for all this stuff. But you have that second authentication, whereas you have to know the code, or they'll send you an email. That's not my favorite one, because often people have the same password on their email they do on their computer. So I don't really like using that as a two-factor authentication. But there's some pretty cool tools you definitely should check out. But true two-factor authentication is a second piece of information that frequently changes, and you have to use it based on certain rules and frequency, or all the time if you so choose for your people. And a lot of for us, I'll give you an idea. You need two-factor to get on the server, and then once you're on the server, every application also has two-factor. So you end up getting your phone out and clicking OK a few times. So once you're into work for the day, you're fine. It isn't, as long as you don't log back out, you're not needing that. So not too bad.
I might be off base here, but doesn't Google have one as well? It's like a basic one.
Google Authenticator, it does. So there's not to go too technical, because we're trying not to here. Most of them, if it wants you just to take a picture of a QR code, and that QR code's that 3D looking dots and
thingy.
Yeah, that's a QR code. Any of them will do it. Nothing's really special about that QR code typically, because that's just going to be a rotating key that's on your phone. Services like Duo and Authy have integrations into a lot of providers to where it makes it even easier for a user. And I like Duo the most. That's the one we recommend. And the reason is it's not free, unfortunately. Everything good's not free. But if the person's cell phone is destroyed and they go get a new cell phone, they won't be set up. So then that would be a phone call to support to reset their Authy or whatever. If you have Duo, they also have an option to send themselves a text message, and then they can text themselves and reset themselves back up. It just kind of gives them options. And when you don't have to type the code in, it's a lot more convenient to go on my phone. And just like I get a text message, it'll pop up the little Duo app and I hit yes, and I'm in the server in seconds. It's just a super convenient thing. You don't want your employees trying to get around it. You want them to be like, it's no big deal. I just hit yes and I go in. So a lot of them do, and you can pretty much use any of them with each other. You just want to look for the one that has the most integrations to software that you have, and you go with that one. So, yep. Cool. Let's see. So we don't have any questions this time, which is pretty cool. If anybody has anything they want to drop in the chat, that'd be great. I think Lisa does bring a good point. Is as we move more and more of this stuff. That's a good one. Let me read this.
I'll read it out loud since he hasn't. She's asking if, she says that they have DLP enabled in Office 365 and then found it does not block image files from PII nor PDFs that are not OCR. Is this the case with Terramind as well? Suggestions or for preventing this?
Yeah, so what specifically she's saying is those documents can be rastered as an image file. And if there's an image file, the DLP engine is not able to find the text within the image file. And I'd have to do some research. It's a very common problem with DLP that it can only stop what it can see. And if those files are images, it's not going to see the text within. Terramind, the problem is with a PDF, it's basically going to have to convert it to OCR to find the text. But what it might be able to do, and we might be able to look at Office 365, is to have it alert you when it's unable to scan a PDF so that you could do some manual checks for those problems. So that's a very good point. And it's going to be that's definitely an edge case for sure we'd have to work on. So
she brings the good questions.
I know, I like it. They're always they do a lot of digging at their company, so they have a lot of the good stuff.
I like
the
challenge.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so next, I wanted to show you Log Me In and Remote Desktop. This is all we're going to do is show these two things for the rest of the meeting. So if you don't really care to see them, that's cool. But I thought some people have never seen this stuff, so I thought maybe it'd be worth our time to. I'll do Log Me into a computer, and I'll do Remote Desktop into our data center. So you can. There's not a lot of differences, but there's definitely a difference in how you get there. So I felt like
before we dive in, if we could tell people, same time next week, if you guys want to send any chats of questions or things that you would like to discuss next time, please do so. We put our email on the earlier slide deck, but it's firststep@hctechguys.com, or you can find our email, our phone number on our website. Call if you think of something later on that you'd like us to discuss or that's been plaguing you or a new issue that's arisen, because we do not mind answering those next week.
And Lisa, like I said, you do have some awesome questions. If you want to email me weird problems like that you're running into, Jared and I and our security team, we really like to deep dive in this stuff. And I've got vendors out there that are really good in this stuff. You're not wasting my time to ping me a question, and I'm definitely down to help dig for an answer for you guys. Just it's what we do. So please, absolutely. Anybody really, you guys have a weird edge case, and I'm definitely willing to do digging, and there's a couple of us at our company. This is what we do, find solutions. It's a lot of fun to do some digging. So please. Yep. All right. So let me stop sharing this, and I got to get this closed. Put this back up here. Boop, boop, share. I'm going to share my entire screen to hopefully make this as easy for you guys to see as possible. So let me get this back to not logged in. So this is our remote desktop interface. So the first one I'm going to show you is remote desktop. And what we have configured is a broker server in our virtual private data center up in Austin. And it presents as a web page, as you can see. It's a web page. Works from just about anything. It's not super Mac friendly. but there is a workaround for Mac. I'm not going to go on that today, but your employee basically goes in here and they're able to put their username in and type in their password. If I can do it with all the stress of you guys waiting, and I did, and they're able to log in. Just by clicking that, you get a link. I have already logged in for this last hour, so I may not get my two-factor because that's the settings we have. We don't want to make everybody get two-factor all the time. We do it once a day per IP. The cool thing about this is you're able, as you see there where I have HCTG workspace, you could have additional resources available. Some companies even have it set up to where they connect to the broker and then they go to their personal PC or a specific server. And there it is. So I'm getting presented a desktop. And the cool thing, oh, there's my two-factor. So that's what two-factor looks like if you've never seen it before.
He has the application on his phone, so it's going to show him that it's requesting
Thanks, Sarah.
And he's going to be adding the information in there or pushing push.
Yeah, so I'll show you. So if I hit push, I would obviously get something on my phone. It's kind of boring. You don't get to see that. So I'll hit enter a passcode, and I'll ask it to text it to me. And then I'll get the text here, and I can put it in. And the cool thing is I can say it out loud and let you see it because it changes. There you go. So now you get to see what two-factor and looks, and there it is. I left this going for you. One of the cool things, based on your settings, your work can stay running. And I left this website running earlier so that we got in, you guys to see the website. And I have two screens on my computer, and both of them now are working, just like I'm at the office or at the data center, whatever, however you want to look at it. I have access to all my stuff. I can do whatever I need to do, network shares, files, programs. For all intents and purposes, this computer now has access to the office. So, cool. Now, log me in, the way we deliver log me in. So typically you would just go to log me in's website. We get our log me in through our network operations center tool. And that's this company here I'm logging into. So once I get to the actual log me in, it'll be a very similar experience for all of you if you were to go buy log me in on your own or another remote application tool. So all I'm doing now is getting to actual computers that we can connect to. And it didn't filter. Connect you into one of ours. Oop. Let's see. Who are we gonna harass? We gonna harass Natalie? No, just kidding. I don't have anything that's fun.
Yeah, I'm probably the safe one right now.
I'll just go to a server. So once you're in here, so this, if you were using log me in straight up, you would have a list of computers and you would click to connect. And I'm basically, so at this point here is what becomes similar. I'm going to hit remote control and then I get prompted a login. And this is where I put my office credentials in. Hit log in. Oh, we got to type them right. Wants the domain.
Sorry, excuse me.
What? I know my credentials. I have a feeling that server is not on the domain, and I'm failing you guys. I do this so often. I didn't think to test it. I should.
Daryl said to do his.
Do Daryl? Let's see, Daryl, you're off network. That won't work.
Oh.
Sorry, guys. I should have tested this one. I do it all the time, but didn't think about it. I need a server on network. Here we go, StorageCraft. And I only say it's server because of what we have. I could do a desktop computer. Oh, yeah, there's the problem right there.
Right, but our people will be working, and that could be potential exposure of many different things.
Yeah, exactly. So and once you've in, now this is kind of interesting screen. It's just showing you the statistics for the computer. You're going to use this remote control button, open the client, and then in seconds, you're presented with the desktop. Boom. And as you see, it's super familiar. It's their desktop, right? You have access to everything you normally do. You can customize what people can do if they can move files and move things around. Although all these options are turned off, you can turn them off as an admin. But you see, I'm on the server. I have access to everything. Like I was sitting there. This could be a computer. This can be a server. Anything you want. It's that easy. Just to give everybody the idea of the differences between the technology. So.
Now, this might just have been how the way we used RDP, the remote login, but can those work on desktops as well as servers also?
Yeah, I mean, it's any device. They have clients for Mac, Linux, all that. Honestly, if you have a lot of weird devices in your network, LogMeIn's pretty nice because it works on everything very the same.
No, the RDP. I'm sorry. I was trying to compare and contrast. I know LogMeIn can do both PCs and servers. Can also RDP.
Yes, it can. You can enable RDP on a PC. You can then add it as a resource to a broker so that you can then connect into a PC with that. But it does take that setup of a broker in some centralized location with a good internet connection. What a broker does is it secures the connection between you and the RDP client. Back in the day, we used to just take a computer and make it public on the internet. And the bad guys found it, and it was not good. So now we put a broker server in front of the RDP host, either it be a desktop server, whatever, right? Like you just said, you can RDP to about anything Windows. We put that broker in front, and it maintains the security to make sure bad guys can't get in. Oh, somebody chatted us. What you got?
Nick asked does it need to be Windows 10 Pro for built-in RDP?
Yes, Pro. I get, well, not for your home user, not for the connecting in, but to RDP in really any business environment, you really need to be running the Pro versions of Windows. You're missing a lot of security without the Pro version. You can't have a domain. You're most likely you're not HIPAA compliant. You're not PCI compliant. So I don't have a lot of experience in not Pro, but yeah, you really need to be running Pro if you're running any type of business with compliance. So.
All right, any other questions? Do you want to go back to our slideshow?
Yeah, sure. I guess I wish I wouldn't have closed it.
I think it mostly just says same time next week.
I think I agree, but it's easy to open back up. Let's see here. Yep, here we are. And then it's going to open.
Yeah, so these are some books that I shared last week that have been helpful to us. Again, they're pretty quick, either by Audible or by reading. Zapier's is even just online that you can go look. They have lots of different links of places that are helpful. Just quick reads. That's all I focused on here because nobody's got time for novels right now.
For sure.
And then the next webinar is next Thursday, April 9th.
And there's our intake email, phone number. If you have questions or you want me to talk about something specific next week, chat us, email it to us. If you think of it before then, please, I'm trying to do this for you guys, trying to get it all out there. And then I found more funny little videos. This was definitely our house a few hours ago.
We got one more chat. Let's see. It's just Dr. Tezel. She says thanks.
Sure, Doc. Appreciate it. Anytime. We want to do this stuff for years, and I've always been kind of discouraged for the investment, and this situation we're all going through right now. It's really, I don't know. I don't claim to be any kind of expert, but we see a lot of things, and we have a lot of exposure, and I like to share the information. So it's been kind of a fun experience to get to learn how to do this and have this interface with everybody. So I appreciate everyone taking the time to listen.
Yeah, and Nick, I hear you with the dogs. We got 2 dogs too, and it's been a circus around here. So that was part of last week's. I don't know if you were here, but just being patient with everybody as they're dealing with their kids and their dogs and their cats. Every time my sister's on a call, she takes pictures of the cat that's completely on the keyboard. So it's an interesting time, but it's giving, I think, people a lot more patience of working with others. So
yeah, I don't think people realize that your kids know when you get on a conference call, and that is when they're going to be hungry. So there's some kind of link there. They've already proven it.
And your dogs have become a Microsoft team favorite. I feel like I need to be a part of this now. I feel like I'm missing out.
Exactly.
Well, great, guys. Thank you so much. And we look forward to talking to you guys next week. And send us your information, okay?
Please. Thank you.
Well done, guys.
Later.